there's a lot of hubbub. Oh, gosh, there's so much caffeine. And then the people that, want to shatter the myths of too much caffeine say, oh, well, it's got the same amount of caffeine as a cup of coffee. There are some people that believe, though, that the energy drinks are drank a little bit differently than, say, a cup of coffee, where someone might just sip on a cup of coffee over a longer period of time. It's opined, people are saying that the younger generation drinks energy drinks much differently than people would drink coffee, or I guess anybody, not necessarily the younger generation. I guess anybody who's drinking something that's like a soda is going to not sip on it continually. But honestly, when I drink coffee, I pretty much drink coffee. It's not something I sip on over an hour or so. But what they're saying is that since energy drinks are basically chugged down, it takes longer for the body to metabolize the caffeine, so it can have more detrimental effects than, say, sipping on a cup of coffee. Now, something that they also brought up is that there are other ingredients that are, one article called it masked caffeine, but honestly, they're stimulants. They're other stimulants. The other stimulants are guarana, ginseng, and taurine. Now, if you're not familiar with taurine, that is definitely an amino acid, and it has a stimulant effect. A lot of athletes use it. It is something that is naturally occurring in the body, and you can get it from several different types of food. I believe it has also been linked to being a mood elevator because it's stimulant effects. Now, something I don't know so much about ginseng, but I do know that ginseng elevates your mood. It increases your energy, mental awareness, and stuff like that. So something that is important to consider when you're having an energy drink is not just the caffeine value, because obviously it's true. If you drink one brand, let's see, Red Bull has 80 milligrams of caffeine in it, and Monster looks like it has 160 milligrams of caffeine. I think that is for a 16-ounce can. I did not write that down. Shoot me later. But it's more than just the caffeine. If you're taking a bunch of sugar in, that's a stimulant. You've got the taurine, which is a stimulant. You've got the ginseng, which is a stimulant. But beyond all that, you've got something that is an herb. Herbs are not regulated by the FDA. They have also been known to conflict with prescription medication. There are warnings on a lot of different types of prescription medication that tell you not to take over-the-counter herbs because there can be a drug interaction. So that's something to consider. It seems that the upper limit for caffeine for people, the average person, is 300 to 400 milligrams a day, which is basically 2 to 4 cups of coffee. Because even though some of the things here, like Red Bull says that they've got 80 milligrams of caffeine, and it's the same as a cup of coffee, I know a cup of coffee to have 100 milligrams of caffeine in it. So one quote that I found also talks about that there is a toxic dose for caffeine, and that's 10 to 20 grams of pure caffeine in a day. Now, this person who was talking about how 10 to 20 grams of caffeine is a lethal dose for a human, they were also talking about that if you were to poison yourself with caffeine by drinking energy drinks, you'd probably drown first because of the amount of caffeine per liquid, per ratio of the liquid. You'd have to drink some awful amount of, like, what was it? I've got it here. 106 cans, 106.64 cans of standard Red Bull. If you drink that much, you'll die. But who in the world is going to drink 106 cans of Red Bull? I mean, seriously. I mean, even though they don't say in one day, I'm thinking they're saying like in one sitting in one day, because obviously it's going to metabolize over time. And then Monster, which is the next highest popular brand, is, you've only got to drink 53.32 cans of that to get you dead. But again, who in the world is going to drink that much soda? Energy drink. Whatever. It's all soda to me. I don't drink any of it. I like the occasional root beer. I like the occasional root beer float. Yum. Stay away from all those energy drinks and pretty much stay away from sodas in general. But something that it was also talking about that I thought was kind of interesting is, we've got all these measures of, the average person can have 200 to 400 milligrams of caffeine a day. The average person is going to do this, that, and the other. But there are things to consider. There are elements that you need to consider as far as staying away from the toxic level of caffeine would be the size of the person, the age of the person, sex, drug interactions, hydration levels, and the amount of food in the stomach mean that different outcomes for different people will occur during a caffeine binge. So there is such a thing as caffeine poisoning, though, and I want to make that clear to everybody. And some of the videos that I saw in one of the classes that I had here at USF, which was victimology, which was a great class, I found out about alcohol poisoning. And you may not think of this when you're younger and, you're going out to parties and drinking, but you can actually die from having too much alcohol. And I know that people nowadays, I'm an old lady if you guys didn't already know that, but people nowadays, they have the availability of information is much more easily accessible to 20-somethings nowadays versus when I was 20-something. So I would hope that, more people would know that there are dangers of having too much caffeine or too much alcohol and that it can put you in the hospital and maybe even kill you. One of the big things that I did find out, and this is kind of important, is that if you're drinking energy drinks, you would hope that you don't have, it's good to find out and make sure that you are free of any type of heart defects or heart abnormalities, because there are people that have had as little as, what was it? I think it said like 2 or 4 cans of a drink and the girl died. But she was a young girl. I think she was like 17. And it was apparently muchly publicized, and she had an underlying heart condition. So it's important, if you're going to drink an energy drink, it does increase your heart rate, it does increase your blood pressure, and these things can be very bad for the person that has, already high blood pressure or a heart condition that they don't necessarily know about. Health of the person makes a difference. Weight of the person makes a difference. Sort of like, as far as having caffeine metabolized, it may be similar to alcohol, where women don't metabolize it as much as or as easily as men, because women typically have an average amount of body fat that is double what the average amount of body fat in men is. Now, how that relates to metabolizing alcohol is apparently alcohol, when it crosses over the fat sections, I guess, of the body, where the muscle mass is what actually metabolizes the alcohol. So that has something to do with that. I don't remember the exact details, and I was just going to go over the whole caffeine thing today, and that's why I don't have it in my notes. But back to the caffeine and the energy drinks. So we're talking about something that not only has, caffeine, just coffee has caffeine. If you drink just black coffee, that's different than having an energy drink or a soda that has caffeine and sugar. And then with the energy drinks, obviously, they also have the other herbs that are added that are known to be stimulants. Oh, by the way, if I didn't mention it, Red Bull no longer lists inositol as a ingredient, so I do not think that they have it. Obviously, if it's not listed, it's not going to be in there anymore. What I found kind of interesting, too, is there are other countries that actually have warning labels on energy drinks saying that let me see if I can find that in my notes. We got the drug interactions. When you're up sipping, we talked about the whole sipping coffee versus chugging energy drinks. I'd be interested if you guys want to give me some feedback if you sip your energy drink or if you chug your energy drink. What I think is kind of funny, though, if we were talking about alcohol and caffeine, is when people have, I think it's called a Jaeger bomb, which is Red Bull and Jägermeister. So you have your stimulant and your depressant at once. So I guess people think that it cancels each other out. Who knows? Who knows? We're all nuts anyway. We do these crazy things. Oh, yes. The good parts of caffeine. One of the great beneficial aspects of caffeine, because obviously nothing is all bad, it can be a potential protector against Parkinson's disease and can even help prevent certain forms of cancer, although this article did not list the forms of cancer that it can help to protect against. Now, some people may not know this, but Parkinson's disease is something that can have symptoms early on. It can occur at different ages. There are other symptoms like, for instance, REM sleep behavior disorder is highly correlated to getting Parkinson's disease at some point in your life. 60% of the people that have REM behavior disorder are thought to be at risk for Parkinson's at some point in their life. And if you're not familiar with REM behavior, let me try that again. REM sleep behavior disorder, it is a parasomnia. Parasomnia is basically a sleep disorder. There are several of those, and in REM, sleep behavior disorder, the person actually acts out their dreams. Typically, when you go to sleep, your body goes into this kind of paralyzation mode where you'll be having your dreams and you'll be running through your dream, but your body will be still. And the person with REM sleep behavior disorder, this does not happen. While they're having their dreams, if they're running in their sleep. This is something that happens also with sleepwalkers, although sleepwalking, I believe, is a separate parasomnia, but that's kind of, where one of those things about caffeine is that it's good to help protect against certain diseases like Alzheimer's and Parkinson's. Now, what I wanted to also say is we've got, there are people that are talking about these safe doses of caffeine, but again, it depends on, your physical attributes, your tolerance level, any sort of thing like that. I mean, there are people, I know a lot of people that are, people say that they're A personalities or they're always on, and they can't rest. Well, those people, it's probably not good for them to have too much caffeine or too much stimulants in the first place, because it tends to make them, I think, more jittery than the average person. But some of the symptoms I wanted to go over that may be indicative of too much caffeine are insomnia, nervousness, restlessness, irritability, stomach upset, abnormally fast and erratic heartbeat, muscle tremors, and in severe cases, seizures and death. Okay, so obviously if you're having any of these symptoms, you want to probably go to the emergency room. because you may have had too much caffeine. Something that I thought was kind of interesting is I've had an energy shot in the past, and all I remember about it was it upset my stomach. I didn't really particularly feel like I had been revved up and energized. It just made my stomach upset. So maybe that was just too much caffeine for me. Craziness.